rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. 100 years ago this year, Britain issued its now famous Balfour Declaration, signed on November the 2nd of 1917 by British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour. The Balfour Declaration stated that the British government, quote, views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and would use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, end of quote. The declaration, issued while the area that is now Israel was still under the control of the Ottoman Empire, represented a pivotal victory for Zionists and has been credited with helping pave the way for the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. However, relations soured considerably during World War II when Adolf Hitler was marching 6 million Jews to gas chambers. Jews were desperate to get out of Europe, but Britain severely curtailed Jewish access to the Holy Land at that time. The British royal family has boycotted the modern state of Israel since its founding in 1948. No member of the royal family has visited there in an official capacity. A statement has now been issued that it is likely that a member of the royal family will visit Israel during the centennial celebration of the Balfour Declaration. Stay tuned for this edition of End of the Age. Well, there's so many pieces of the puzzle that are coming together right now. It's amazing to see all the activity. This Trump administration is moving with such speed in spite of the fact that it's being obstructed on every side, and yet it just appears that they're able to act before the opposition can react. And things are moving so rapidly. President Trump has already met with King Abdullah of Jordan. He's met with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. And then he talked on the phone today with Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinians, and invited him to visit Trump in Washington. So things are moving rapidly. In the meantime, the special envoy to Israel, Mr. Greenblatt, is planning on visiting Israel in a week or two to further enhance the relationship. President Trump said before he was elected that if elected, he would do his very best to get a deal between Palestinians and Israelis. Of course, President Trump, being a businessman in his previous life, has said repeatedly that he loves doing big deals, and he said that a peace agreement between Israelis and Palestinians would be the ultimate deal. Well, that's so interesting because the Bible prophesies that there is going to be a deal, that there is going to be a peace agreement. However, it's going to have a fatal flaw. It's going to be a temporary agreement. And when that temporary agreement expires, then the conflict that will ensue is called in the scripture the Battle of Armageddon. So that's where we are right now, and it looks like all that is being set in motion as we speak now. We're not even mentioning that the announcement came today that we're putting 2,500 troops in Kuwait, so they will be on the ground and be able to be moved very rapidly either into Iraq or into Syria. President Trump has issued the announcement that we're going to go against Raqqa, which is the capital of ISIS in Syria. We're going to go against Raqqa in conjunction with the Kurds, and we don't want anyone else there. We don't want the Russians there. We don't want the Turks there. And so all of a sudden, in this important conflict that America has been mostly on the side of, suddenly we're moving so swiftly to put America front and center. I mean, after all, if America's the one that captures ISIS capital in Syria, where does that put us? It puts us right at the center of the conflict. All that's happening right now. And in the meantime, we're moving B-52 bombers into South Korea because of the recent missile test by North Korea. Now then, China is issuing a warning that China says, we have always said we will never issue a first strike attack against our enemies. But now it seems like they're changing their mind that maybe they could issue a first strike attack. So whether you want to talk about in the South China Sea, or if you want to talk about the Middle East up and down the Euphrates River, or if you want to talk about the Middle East and all that's going on there, it's like the whole world is in motion. It's very rapidly developing, sort of like it is here in the United States of America. The speed of the Trump administration is breathtaking, and it seems like that is taking on that personality all the way around the world. That could be good and maybe not so good. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I hope you're praying, though, for our government every day, no matter who is in our government, because we certainly need God's help in this government and in all of our governments. The Bible instructs us to pray for rulers and those in authority that we might live a quiet and peaceable life on this earth, and we certainly need to be doing that at this particular time. Well, this is Open Line Day, and later on we may go over some of the things we've talked about this week. However, already the calls are coming in, so I think we're just going to go straight to the phones now. And I am presently on the road. I am in Maryville, Indiana. I'll be doing a conference here this evening. That's Friday evening, also Saturday evening, and Sunday morning. This evening's meeting is 7:30. Everyone is invited. You still have time to plan to be here, and I hope that you will do that. So it's Friday evening, Saturday evening, and Sunday morning. I'll tell you more about that a little bit later on in the program. Right now, however, let's go straight to the phones, and Eugene is calling from New York. Hello, Eugene.
Hello, Mr. Baxter. I am curious about, Israel is having a jubilee soon.
Yes.
And this jubilee means that they have a big celebration. Now, while they're celebrating, all the arms are down and everything is at peace, they're going to get attacked by somebody. And that is going to lead to the peace treaty being signed. All right? Is that true or not? Also, where are we in fall Washington?
Well,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eugene. And you're right that we are celebrating a Jubilee in Israel this year. And the reason they've chosen this as the Jubilee year, in case people out there do not know, every 50 years in the Bible was designated by God himself to be a year of Jubilee. Well, the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, was reunited in the 1967 war, and this is the 50th celebration of that great victory. Jerusalem is very special to the Jewish people. David said concerning Jerusalem, "If I fail to esteem Jerusalem above my chief joy, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth, and let my right hand forget her cunning." David was both a singer and a swordsman. He was a warrior, and he said, let my facilities just leave me if I ever keep Jerusalem in any other place in my life except number one in my life. So Jerusalem is very important, and it was reunited in the 1967 war. This is the 50th year, and there's a big celebration that is scheduled. Now, a lot of people would like to see America move its embassy to Jerusalem this year at the time of this Jubilee. They also would like to see a peace agreement. And as I mentioned, as the program was just coming on, there's a lot of activity right now toward that peace agreement. President Trump would love to get that done, and he doesn't like to mess around. He likes to move fast. Since the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem would be done probably in May or June, if he's going to do it at this time, I think he's going to move very, very fast to try to get a deal done right now. Now, the reason that May and June is so important is because there's a law in the United States of America that we have to move our embassy to Jerusalem. That law was passed by our Congress in 1995. However, they put a escape hatch in that law that if the president says this would endanger national security, that he can ask for a waiver from that law each 6 months. Well, all the presidents from that time until now, from 1995 until now, Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama have all gone to the Congress every 6 months and signed the waiver. President Obama did it again in November, just before leaving office. He signed the waiver once again. However, Donald Trump has promised adamantly that he will move the embassy to Jerusalem, and many people say he won't sign the waiver. Consequently, he will either have to move the embassy or sign the waiver in May of this year. So it's a very interesting time. I believe it's May or June of this year that will have to happen. So that's the reason we're seeing him inviting Mahmoud Abbas to the White House. That just happened today. He's already met with Benjamin Netanyahu. He already has his special representatives traveling to Israel in a week or so. So there's a lot of movement behind the scenes that we don't even know about. In the meantime, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is in Russia right now, and he's been talking with Vladimir Putin, and Russia's also a player in the Middle East. There's been some talk about Russia and the United States teaming up together to host peace talks and to finally bring about a peace agreement. We're going to see how that's all going to happen. So will it happen? I cannot tell you that. There is going to be a peace agreement, but I can't tell you that it will happen this year, but it certainly could. And Donald Trump says he wants to, and Benjamin Netanyahu has said he believes he will be the prime minister when finally peace is achieved with the Palestinians. So it's like the perfect storm is all coming together right now. If it does happen, and this is the most important thing I want to say to you today, if they do get a peace agreement, then it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus to the earth. Now, I hope you heard me clear. If they sign this agreement, let's say they would sign it between now and May, you can go to your calendar and mark your calendar with a big black circle, because the final 7 years to Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus to the earth will start when they sign that agreement. Now, let me give you one qualifier. The agreement that they must sign will create a Palestinian state in the area of Judea, which is what they're talking about. It also would put the Temple Mount under a sharing arrangement. It also would open the door for the Jews to build their temple on the Temple Mount without disturbing the Dome of the Rock of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, when they sign an agreement with those particular agreements in the agreement, then the final 7 years to Armageddon will begin. And I don't believe they're going to sign an agreement that doesn't contain those things, because those are the main sticking points in the recent negotiations. Okay, thank you very much, Eugene. Good question. Let's now go to Thomas. Thomas is calling from Texas. Hello, Thomas.
Yes, Irvin, are you there?
I'm right here. What's on your mind?
Excuse me. I've been following you for several years here. These seals in chapter 6 of Revelation and the trumpets in chapter 8, these seals, have they already been opened?
Some of them have. The first 4 have now been opened. There's 3 yet to go. The 5th seal, the 6th seal, and the 7th seal. But the first 4 have already been opened, yes.
Okay, now how does these trumpets fit in after those seals? It says, my Bible here says chapter 8 here shows the 7 trumpets. I've been following you that you have the first trumpet, was World War I. The second trumpet was World War II. And the third trumpet was April of 1986. I don't understand how those trumpets happen after these seals.
Let me explain it this way. Let me explain it this way, Thomas. The recording of the trumpets is after the recording of the seals, but that does not mean that they happen, because the book of Revelation is not in chronological order. The seals finish with the opening of the heavens and the appearance of Jesus Christ at his second coming. The trumpets also finish with the second coming of Jesus, and then the vials finish with the second coming of Jesus. So the way the book of Revelation is structured, the seals are one account of the second coming, and that's the longest account. Then the Bible starts over, and the trumpets are the shorter account, ending with the second coming, and the vials are the real short account. The vials will happen within the last 3.5 years before the Battle of Armageddon. So if we try to say that the trumpets have to happen after the seals, we'll get so confused. But that's not the proper way of looking at it, because we can prove that we're in the fourth seal right now. We have now seen the fifth trumpet, and the next trumpet will be the sixth trumpet. And then, of course, the vials have not started yet, because they don't start until the mark of the beast has already been issued.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to find out.
It's a good question, Thomas. I thank you very much. And let me explain just a little bit further. We right now are producing a new commentary of the book of Revelation. It will be available later on this year. And I am pointing out that there are 4 specific accounts of the second coming in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter number 6, verse 12 through 16. Revelation chapter number 11, verse 15 through 19. Revelation chapter 14, verse 14 through 20. And then finally, Revelation chapter number 19, verse 7 through verse 20. 4 different specific accounts of the second coming of Jesus Christ and the Battle of Armageddon. Once you understand it that way, it's like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 4 different accounts of the life of Christ, 4 different accounts of the second coming contained in the book of Revelation. Once you see that, everything starts snapping into focus. So I'm really anxious to get our commentary out there, because I think it's going to be a blessing to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Thank you, Thomas.
I learned a lot listening to you, especially in the book of Daniel. There are all those animals and everything. So,
well, that's such an amazing prophecy, Thomas. Daniel 7 is one of the most supernatural, amazing prophecies I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's very exciting to know that we're living in the time of the second coming of Jesus to the earth.
My pastor is going through the book of Revelation right now, but I don't think he knows a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I might suggest to you, Thomas, that you may recommend to him our Understanding the End Time series, because the Understanding the End Time series has helped a lot of people. It's 14 one-hour DVDs, and a lot of people have been through that, and it's really been a blessing to them. So not just your pastor, but everybody out there, if you've not been through the Understanding the End Time series, you need to go through it immediately, because it's a prophecy course, but if you don't get through it right away, it's going to be a history course, because the things are happening right now.
Yeah,
hey, Thomas, I gotta let you go. Thank you very much for your phone call. We appreciate it very much. By the way, if you'd like to order your own copy of Understand the End Time, the number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Or if you'd prefer to do it online, simply go to endtime.com, and there you can see all of the things we have to offer to enhance your understanding of the prophecies of the Bible. About 30% of the Bible is prophecy, and 90% of those 30% are prophecies for now. God thought it was pretty important to devote that much of his word to the time in which you and I live right now, because we're anticipating his second coming. But let me tell you, he is anticipating his second coming, because when he comes back, he is coming back for a bride. He paid the price for a bride 2,000 years ago when he died on the cross. You know, the first Adam, God took his bride out of his side. And the second Adam, Jesus Christ, again, the bride was taken out of his side. The Bible says the Roman soldier thrust a spear in the side of Jesus, and there came forth blood and water mingled for the cleansing of the nations. Blood and water, the Bible says, repent and be baptized, every one of you, for the remission of sins. Our redemption comes because of the blood of Christ, which now is able to eradicate sin and allow us to enter into a wonderful relationship with Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is coming back in order to be joined to his bride that he paid the great price for 2,000 years ago. And when he comes back, we will be caught up to meet him in the air, and we will be joined with him for all eternity. And I know that not only are we in anticipation, but I'm sure that he is in anticipation, because everything he's planned since the beginning of the world is getting ready to culminate and come together. It's going to be a great and wonderful time. I'll tell you what let's do. Let's continue to take our phone calls. Let's go now to Canada. Joseph is calling from Canada. Hello, Joseph. Nice to hear from you again.
Yes, hi there. How you doing, Pastor?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, the other day I was watching a video of the channel is News Channel 428, and I think it's Pastor Wesley or something like that. He was saying that he has received a letter from Mr. Yehuda Glick. He is in Knesset, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So he has sent letters to many pastors around the world to help for the rebuilding of the temple. I was wondering if you have received one of those letters, and I would like to get involved here and go to the pastors here, whoever has not received one, and so to get involved that way. What do you know about?
Well, I have not received the letter. Now, I am a personal friend of Yehuda Glick. I've had him come over and speak to our tour group twice now, both times before the assassination attempt on his life. But he is one of the prime movers in trying to build the temple. I've not received the letter of which you speak, so I don't know how to address that. Nevertheless, there's a good chance we may see Yehuda Glick at our offices when we're in Israel in a couple of months, and we'll probably be learning more about that at this time. I do know this, however. There will be no problem raising funds for the temple once the trigger is pulled on the project. Now, the project cannot go forward right now because Jews are not even allowed to pray on the Temple Mount, let alone go up there and start building their temple. The building of the temple will happen as a result of the peace agreement that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are working on right now. Now, whether they get it done or not, I don't know. If they do, though, within the first 3.5 years of the time they sign the agreement, the temple will be built. It will be finished during the first 3.5 years, and animal sacrifices will be resumed. And whenever they open up that possibility, once they make the announcement, I promise you, wealthy Jews from all over the world, they'll have more money than they can even use for the project. So right now, they can't get up there and build. It's all stalemated right now. But once they get the peace agreement, everything is going to go fast forward.
Yeah. Do you know this Pastor Wesley from News Channel 428?
No, I don't know him.
Yeah, he says that he organizes tours and everything. I tried to get more information to see, because he said in the video, I'm going to find the video again, and he said that he has received a letter from Rabbi Yehuda Glick asking him and many other pastors around the world to help rebuild the temple.
Yeah, well, that does not, I don't know whether he's asking for money to help rebuild the temple or whether he's asking them to use their influence. I know that the Sanhedrin and also the Temple Institute has sent a letter to both Donald Trump and to Vladimir Putin,
yes,
asking both of them to use their influence to facilitate the building of Israel's third temple. I know that that is true for certain, that that has been done.
All right. It was nice talking to you again.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joseph. Appreciate the call.
Yeah,
now then, let's go to Pamela calling from Tennessee. Hello, Pamela.
Hi. Good afternoon, Reverend Baxter. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Hear you very well. What's on your mind?
Okay, I'd like to ask two quick questions, if I may. Just thought about this. Since President Obama in the United Nations did not stand with Israel, and therefore, do you see, because he did not stand with Israel, the expediency for Donald Trump to try to, the expediency that we're seeing now, as far as him meeting with the leaders of Palestine as well as Israel, Netanyahu, could that have come about because of President Obama not standing for Israel, and as well, is that could the Palestinians come back as any measure and try to forcefully ask the Jews to move out of Jerusalem, out of Israel, because of Obama not vetoing, from the United States? And the second question I can ask, if you don't mind, is in the the tribulation, 3.5 years tribulation, will the United States be part of that, or is that just for the one world governments, the countries within the one world government, which I know you said the United States was not part of?
Yeah, I do not believe the United States will actually experience the Great Tribulation. However, we will be impacted by it because it's going to impact the entire world. And I also believe the United States should use its resources to help all the people that have to flee from the Great Tribulation. Europe is going to be the worst place to be because that's going to be the power base of the Antichrist and his religious partner, the false prophet. So I don't believe the United States will actually be a part of it. Now, let's go back to your first question, though. The stance that President Obama took when he did not veto Resolution 2334, that stance was a horrible anti-Israel and anti-God stance. And I'll tell you what, let me do, Pamela. I hear we're reaching the end of the first segment of our programs, and I don't want to short-circuit this answer, so I'll deal with it more in the next segment of the program. You're listening to End of the Age, and to reach us and to reach our operators, the number is 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463.
From Here to Armageddon, a new exciting 8-lesson series to share with your friends and family. Order yours right away.
Answering many questions like, how far are we from the Battle of Armageddon? What will happen between now and then? Where are we on the timeline? Your questions answered in this exciting 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon.
Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463. Order yours right away.
Today I have some exciting news to share with you. You can now become a magazine subscriber for life. You will receive first-class benefits that will include a lifetime membership to End Time Magazine, as well as an unlimited access to the digital version of the magazine. You will also receive 20% off of all future orders at endtime.com, well, at least till the rapture happens. Never worry about missing one important issue or forgetting to renew. You can rest assured when something happens in the news pertaining to Bible prophecy, you will be informed with the most recent cutting-edge material available. End Time Magazine has been the forefront of End Time Ministries since the beginning, and we would love to join with you in this first ever opportunity of becoming a magazine subscriber for life. Join today by calling 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or go to endtime.com.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archives button.
Just before our break, Pamela from Tennessee had asked about the effect that President Obama not vetoing the resolution against Israel, and could the Palestinians press Israel to withdraw from East Jerusalem as a result. In case you are not aware of what happened with Resolution 2334, in essence, here's what it said. It said that Israel's presence in the area of the West Bank, which is biblically called Judea and Samaria, and its presence in East Jerusalem was a flagrant violation of international law. So this put And this was voted on by the UN Security Council, by the way, and the United States abstained and did not use our veto. We have always used our veto to protect Israel until December the 23rd of 2016. President Obama did what he'd been itching to do all of his administration. And finally, he said, I'm leaving office. I don't have to run for election again. I'm going to do what I want to do. So he did. However, there is a problem, and that is if they want to act against Israel because she will not withdraw from East Jerusalem and from Judea Samaria, then any action that they choose to take will have to go through the UN Security Council again. Well, now then, the U.S. has veto, and the Trump administration is much more friendly to Israel than the Obama administration was. Consequently, they're going to have a hard time getting any action through the UN Security Council against Israel. Now, the Palestinians are threatening to go to the International Criminal Court and to file charges against the officials of Israel. And, of course, what they do, they try to put them on trial there and imprison them. The only problem is they can't get their hands on them. Now, they can make it difficult for the political leaders of Israel and the generals and all the officials that have anything to do with administration of the policies toward the West Bank. They can make it very hard on them in that they would not be able to travel to countries that have signed the International Criminal Court statute, because those countries, once there's a warrant issued for their arrest, those countries are committed with their signature to enforce that warrant for their arrest. So it could really cause Israel to be confined and only be able to travel to those places that they know would not enforce that warrant for their arrest. So it is a serious situation. However, for them to take an action like that, they would bring down the wrath of Israel and the United States of America. And I don't expect that to happen, at least during the Trump administration. Now, what will happen later? Well, that remains to be seen. Hope that helps, Pamela.
Baxter? Yes, Reverend Baxter.
Yes.
Yes, one question. Do you feel that God will take judgment out against President Obama since he did not stand with Israel?
I will not be in President Obama's shoes for $10 million.
Yes, sir. He's got a $60 million book deal that's coming, but I thought, well, he may not, eventually God may not be happy with his actions, and wanted to see you as the Reverend minister if you feel that he would withhold that against President Obama.
Well, the Bible's, I don't wish him any ill,
Yes.
but here's what the scripture says. This is Zechariah chapter 12. I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, and whoever burdens himself with Jerusalem will be cut into pieces.
Yes.
All of those nations that voted against Israel and against Jerusalem on December the 23rd of 2016, I would be very frightened for them, and I don't wish any of them ill. But according to that scripture, whether it's going to happen rapidly or, the Bible says because judgment is not executed speedily against an evil deed, it's set in the hearts of men to do evil continually. So maybe the judgment won't come right away. And I'm not wishing judgment on anyone, but if the Bible is true, it is coming.
Yes. And what about the United States during the 3.5-year tribulation? What effects do you think the United States will mostly from the some other countries that are involved, in your opinion, Reverend Baxter?
Well, first of all, we're going to protect Israel during the Great Tribulation. The Bible explicitly says that.
Right.
Also, Jordan is going to not be invaded by the Antichrist. The Bible specifically says that.
Yes.
And there will be many other countries. America should use all of its power and resources to protect people against the power of the Antichrist during the Great Tribulation period. I certainly hope we have a president in the White House at that time that has a good understanding of Bible prophecy and will use all of the resources of America to resist and to thwart the purposes of the Antichrist as much as possible.
Thank you, Reverend Baxter.
Okay. God bless you, Pamela, and nice to talk to you. We have this question coming to us from Facebook. Richard asks, what is the status of the third temple? Right now, there is no third temple. However, all the preparations have been made to build the third temple. Now, when I say all the preparations, I mean they have all the furniture reconstructed. all the way from the brazen altar where the animals are to be killed, to the brazen laver where the priests are to wash, to the candlestick that's to light up the holy place, to the table of shewbread, where the bread is there that the priests are instructed to eat, to the altar of incense. Those are the three pieces of furniture in the holy place. And now they have recreated the Ark of the Covenant. So all the furniture is completed. And I'm not telling you something I think. I'm telling you something that I have seen several times with my own eyes, and I will be seeing again in May when I travel to Israel. So they are ready right now, except for one thing, and that is they know they have to have the ashes of a red heifer according to the Old Testament requirement, and they must take those ashes, mingle them with water, and wash in that mixture in order to be purified from contact with a dead body. They don't have that ashes of red heifer right now. They're working to raise the required red heifer right now. So that's the only thing left as far as the requirement goes, and they're working on that right now. We are getting very close to the time when all this is going to happen. But as far as the building of the temple, there's not one stone been laid, nothing. But I did ask Rabbi Chaim Richman, the executive director of the Temple Institute, how long it would take to build the temple once they're given the go-ahead by the government. He said that they believe they can do it in 1 year's time. That they definitely will do it within a 3.5-year span, according to the Bible, because the Bible teaches that after the peace agreement, within 3.5 years, the temple will be finished and they will have resumed animal sacrifices. The prophecies specifically say that. So that's where we are right now. That's the best I can do for you, Richard, and we appreciate the inquiry. Okay. Let's now move to Maryland. Phyllis is calling from Maryland. Hello, Maryland.
Hi, Pastor Baxter. My name is Phyllis.
Right.
And I have two questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is related to Genesis 49. Before Jacob passed away, he was given his prophetic blessings to all of his sons.
Yes.
And as I read that, I noticed that when he was saying the things that he said to them, he described a couple of them as the different types of beasts that are listed in the Revelations. Like he said, Judah was like a lion, Dan was like a serpent, Zebulon would be involved with ships, and it dawned on me that are they going to be used in some way for the tribulation to occur, or related to the battles, or is it like because they were scattered around, the people in the world that depicted that type of personality would be the ones that would be playing these roles, but it would be based on these 12 tribes.
Phyllis, the use of the lion there as the symbol of Judah, and by the way, that is the official symbol of Israel today. They have their star that they use on their flag, but they also refer to Judah as the lion. But the use of that to represent Judah is a different usage than the lion representing Great Britain in Daniel chapter 7. It's not the same thing. So consequently, because the lion in Daniel 7 representing Great Britain represents a nation, whereas Judah, having been called the lion, and today, if you go to Israel, you'll see lions in a lot of different places, statues of lions, emblems of lions on special things, because that is one of the official symbols of Israel, but it does not pertain to the same thing that the lion in Daniel chapter 7 or in Revelation 13 pertains to. So beyond that, I would not be willing to speculate. Here's what we do know. In one of the minor prophets, and I cannot off the top of my head recall which one right now, but in one of the minor prophets, it talks about one of the prophets was commanded to take two sticks. One was called beauty and one was called bands. and he was to bind them together. And when the Lord told him what that meant, God said, when I bring Israel back home, they will no longer be two, they will become one. So it won't be the nation of Israel and the nation of Judah. They will no longer in the end time be two separate. I will bring them all back together again. I believe that has now happened in the nation of Israel. So that's the best I can do for you, I think, Phyllis, today. Does that help any?
Yes, it does. And I just had one comment to make. It appears when I listen to callers and some of the things you say as well, I believe what has been revealed to me that Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and the Roman Catholic Church, they have all been used in fulfilling God's prophecy.
Well, that is true. Everything going on in the world today.
But I'm saying from an evil nature, though.
Well, God does use rulers for both evil and good. Now, for example, the enmity that really grew up during the Obama administration was frightening to me, because the Bible says concerning Abraham and his seed that those that bless you and your seed, Abraham, I will bless. Those that curse you, I will curse. Now, in spite of the fact that President Obama chose to do this terrible thing, and it was a horrible thing on December the 23rd of 2016, when he allowed the United Nations, which is the world government, he allowed the world government to rule that Israel was in flagrant violation of international law by being in East Jerusalem. I'm talking about the place where God said, I will put my name there forever. And yet the United Nations made this anti-God resolution, and we stood idly by and allowed it to pass. When that happened, that was a serious thing. On the other hand, there have been times the United States has stood for Israel. As a matter of fact, most of the time, since the rebirth of the modern nation of Israel, America has been its best friend. And I don't think that goes unnoticed by God either. I mean, we were the first one. We cast the deciding vote at the decision at the UN on November the 29th of 1947 to see the rebirth of the nation of Israel. We were the first nation to officially recognize the birth of the new nation after David Ben-Gurion declared its existence, its birth, on May the 14th of 1948. And we've used our veto power 41 times to protect Israel. So yes, there have been a few times we failed, but many more times than we have failed, we have succeeded. Listen, Phyllis, I'm going to have to let you go now. I'm up against a hard break. You're listening to The End of the Age. We have one more segment left. If you're on hold, stay right there if you can. And we do have more callers that we can receive. Let me tell you today about our exciting Armageddon collection. What does the term Armageddon mean? Why is it so important in Bible prophecy in the last days? And what will happen between now and then? In our Armageddon collection, we cover subjects such as events of the final 7 years, the revealing of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and the world's greatest revival just ahead. In this special collection, you will receive the DVD, Seeds of Armageddon, November 29, 2012, our 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon, along with a printout of our 7-year timeline, and our informative DVD, First Step to Armageddon, December 23rd, 2016. All of this for your gift of $140 or more, plus the cost of shipping and handling. To order your Armageddon collection, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Welcome back to End of the Age. This is Open Line today. Let me just do a brief recap before we return to the phones about where we've been this week. First of all, over last weekend, Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis, Republican from Florida, led a delegation to Israel, and the purpose of his visit was to search for a site for locating the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. President Trump promised that he would move the embassy to Jerusalem, and so DeSantis went there to shop. He looked at 4 sites, came to the conclusion probably the most ideal site was what is presently serving as the U.S. Consulate in Israel. It is a huge structure, newly built in 2010, and all it would take to move our embassy there would be to change the sign that says consulate to embassy, and it would be a done deal. So it could happen literally overnight. And with all the discussion about moving our embassy to Jerusalem, well, we are in very interesting territory, to say the least. Now, in addition to that, on Tuesday, Dave talked to you about all the things happening around the world to banish God from schools and from public places, in particular in France and Great Britain. Some amazing things are happening right now. On Wednesday, we talked about God's prophetic timeline, and we laid out very clearly where we are now and what's going to happen in the times just ahead. A lot of people say, no, the only thing you know for sure about prophecy is there's nothing you can know for sure. Well, that is dead wrong, because Jesus specifically laid out many specific things, and he said, when you see these things, then know that this generation shall not pass until all things be fulfilled. So we have many specific prophecies that we know will happen, and we know when they're going to happen. God has a prophetic timeline, and we laid out on Wednesday exactly what that is. And oh, by the way, if you want to explore that deeper, our From Here to Armageddon series, which I'm really excited about, because to me it lays out the clearest of what we're facing right now and what's going to happen over the next few years. The From Here to Armageddon series, if you don't have it, we'll get that. Anyway, that happened on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we talked about the WikiLeaks and the spying by our government on people, the fact that our government can tap into your cell phone, into your computer, into your television. Some people say even into your microwave. I don't know how that would work, but nevertheless, the WikiLeaks stated that they now have these technologies. They also have a technology, malware, that they could steal from other countries and then use that malware to spy on U.S. citizens. And yet when someone went there to check on it, it would show that the malware was from Russia or from China. And thus people would think it was Russia that did it when it was really our CIA that did it. Now, all of us love our country, and we don't want to believe our own government would spy on us, but they do. I mean, already we know it. They spied on General Flynn when he had his conversation with the Russian ambassador, and they transcribed what General Flynn said and gave it to the New York Times. So they spied. It's a felony, but we don't know who did it. If we find out who did it, then they could be placed on trial, because it is against our law. But they're violating those laws right now. They didn't think we would find out, but someone spilled the beans with WikiLeaks, and they put it out there for us all to know. Now, do I admire WikiLeaks? Well, no. Am I glad they did this? Well, actually, I am. If our government is running roughshod over the Bill of Rights, over privacy, over our protection against warrantless searches and seizures, then they need to be exposed, because they are committing crimes. And for us to get all upset at WikiLeaks, we should be just as upset, probably more so, with our government that's been doing these things that are flagrant violations of law here in America. So we don't need to just be a Polly Parrot and join the chorus that says WikiLeaks is bad, it's bad, it's bad. I'm not saying it's good, but all I'm saying is I am glad we know that this is happening. It's come out because we need to know it. We need to know they've been using these devices against the American people, and we know for sure they have. As a matter of fact, President Trump said he just found out that they had been spying on him. Now think about that. Now, either he's wrong, and I've been listening very carefully to President Trump for the last year or two, And every time he makes a statement, everybody says, oh, that's so outlandish. He ends up being right. And I told my wife the day he said that, I said, he either really knows this or he's making a big, big mistake by making this accusation. We still have not been given the proof. But so far, when President Trump has made an assertion like that, when the dust is cleared, it has proven that he knew what he was saying. This is not a stupid man. This is a highly intelligent person who took on 16 opponents. I'm talking about governors, senators, people with tremendous resources, and he defeated them all. And then he took on the Clinton machine. He defeated them. And so to try to say that he's a bumbling idiot is simply a huge mistake. And he said that. I'm waiting to see the proof for that one. Do I hope it's not true? I hope it's not true, but as of right now, we simply don't know. Well, listen, we got to get back to the phones now, and we're going now to Texas. Carol is calling from Texas. Hello, Carol.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's on your mind?
Okay, great. I was listening to one of your callers the other day calling and asking why we weren't fighting with Israel at Armageddon. And it seemed like, the question, I began to think about it later. And one day, I was just reading my Bible one day, and it just impressed me that maybe the reason why we weren't there fighting against those that were coming against Israel at Armageddon was maybe we've realized that what is going on, and also the rapture is occurring, and there's a lot of stuff going on during that time. Maybe we've understood what the Bible is saying. Maybe we've had the United States has had a revival, and the government, those people in the government have learned an understanding. What do you think about that?
I've thought an awful lot about this, Carol, and those thoughts have crossed my mind. If we had a president in the White House who really understood the prophecies of the Bible, I've wondered what would I do, and I'm not planning on running ever for president. But I've thought to myself, if I were president and I saw this all shaping up exactly like the Bible says, the Battle of Armageddon had begun. The UN forces invade Israel. Israel is falling back. What would I do as president of the United States? I think I would do exactly what you're saying. I think knowing that Jesus is getting ready to come and intervene, I think I would just try to prepare everyone and tell everyone what's getting ready to happen and tell them to get ready for the rapture, because if they want to go up when Jesus comes, they must be ready. And then I believe I would sit by and let it happen, and it would happen. Now, again, I'm not the president. I don't have to wrestle with that decision, and so that's strictly an off-the-cuff statement I'm making here. But I have given it a little bit of thought, just exactly what you have said. And we do know that when Israel's on the brink of defeat, that Jesus will come back, and it's when he comes back that his church will be caught up to meet him in the air, and we will go with him to the Battle of Armageddon, defeat the Antichrist, the false prophet, and we will crown Jesus Christ, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Don't have all the answers, but I have thought a lot about what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of sense to what you're saying.
Well, I feel good about it, and I just felt like that was something that could possibly happen, and with all this information that you're providing to our government, to all these people, I can't help but think that maybe their understanding is going to be opened up to see all of this. So I'm praying for that.
Well, thank you very much, Carol, and thank you for the phone call. Appreciate it so much. And I also want to say I appreciate all of our listeners out there. I know a lot of you are studying, and for everyone we hear from, there's 1,000 people that never do call. But there are thousands, there's hundreds of thousands out there, but you're learning and you're sharing what you know with others, and I encourage you to do that. That's the way nations are changed. It starts at the grassroots. When we can educate people as to what is coming, then one of these days, suddenly our nation will shift and we say, how did that happen? It's just like the last election. I mean, the talk shows have been talking against one world government, against encroaching socialism. and all of these things for a long, long time. But because both parties were basically implementing the same policies, there's a lot of people that were sitting in the shadows feeling helpless. Well, then when a candidate come along openly talking against world government and against socialism, I mean, we were watching our borders become like a huge sieve. People just come one, come all, no enforcement. We were ignoring our immigration laws. And then when all of a sudden Donald Trump came along and said, wait a minute, we can't do this. We're not going to have a nation anymore. All of a sudden, a lot of people that have been in the shadows suddenly came out of the woodwork and headed to the polls, because a lot of people saw this as the last chance to save America from the one world government, and especially those that know the prophecies of the Bible. If you know the prophecies of the Bible, you know a world government is coming. However, fortunately, we can see in the prophecies that the United States of America is apparently not going to be a part of it, and we don't want to be. Well, anyway, so all the polls missed that factor, and everybody was stunned when the votes were counted, because all the polls were wrong pretty much. And we found out that there were a lot of people out there that were not being polled, but they did have the ability to vote, and now all of a sudden America is taking a dramatic turn the other way. Don't let that scare you, ladies and gentlemen, because so far, and I'm not in any way saying that the Trump administration is infallible. They're certainly not. And we need to be very vigilant on every front, but we need to keep praying, because, like, for instance, the reversal of the transgender bathroom problem, was that insanity? Is it insanity to say a man can walk into a woman's shower room in a public facility and be there even though he still is physically a man? You got to be close to mentally ill to believe that. And yet our government issued an executive order to that effect. Why shouldn't we rebel against that? Well, now that's all been reversed. Thank God for that. There are many other things that also need to be reversed. Let's keep praying humbly, sincerely, and we're not out for revenge on anyone. That's not the Christian way. But we need to pray. We need to thank God, first of all, for what has happened, and continue to be humble before the Lord, that he would let his grace shine upon us. Okay, let me pause a moment to say this to all of you as we're winding down for today. I want to remind you that I will be this evening holding a prophecy conference, and I want to tell you exactly where it is, because I'd love for you to be there if you possibly can. And I'm going there as quick as I can. I'm going to be this evening in Maryville, Indiana. That's at 7:30. I'll be in Maryville, Indiana tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and again Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We'd love to have you visit. It's the Pentecostals of South Lake, 1640 West 93rd Avenue. That's 7:30 this evening, Maryville, Indiana. For more information, go to our website, endtime.com.
End of the Age is a production of End Time Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. End Time Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.